3, 2, 1, and we're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Claret and Booze. I'm back again. Been meaning to do a show with Avram for it was supposed to be last weekend, wasn't it? But it just got put off. So we're doing it. We're doing it now. And as Avram was at the game yesterday, he's going to tell us about his experience at the at Villa Park. How are you, mate? You all good?
Yeah, I'm all good, mate. Got back quite late last night. I drove up. You see, I didn't stay
Yeah.
over. I didn't get back till.
You was designated driver, was you?
Well, no, I just travelled up on my own.
Right. Okay.
So I just drove up on my own and then came back. I didn't get back till about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. I'd take it slow on the way back. It was that cold. A lot of accidents on the road. But yeah,
Was it
all
really?
good. Yeah, it was bad. I think I was driving along, and I think it went down to about -7, -6.5.
Mate.
Freezing, absolutely Baltic.
I mean, that does make you realise, really, when you consider the injuries that we was getting yesterday, you can kind of understand it, can't you? Sort of hamstrings pinging and stuff like that. But what can you do? You know, if the game's being played in Arctic conditions, it is what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Christ, now we know what it's like the Russians to play football, eh? But
Yeah, I know. But what was your what's your? I'll tell you what. We'll start with before the game. So obviously, look, you weren't keen on Moyes. You weren't keen on Lopetegui. Were you keen on Potter before we appointed him, or is it someone that because I know you like him now, but is it someone that you've warmed to like me, or did you like him before? Before all this.
Yeah. So I was of the opinion, Nick, that Potter needed a harmonious environment to prosper in, and that really worried me.
Yeah.
So, as you know, we're a bit of a basket case for the club at the minute with our current ownership. I put it as an understatement, and I didn't want the same thing to happen to him at Chelsea's, at West Ham. So that's what worried me. When it got to a point that when Lopetegui was dismissed officially, we just needed the right character to put these players right, put his arm around. And as you said, I think is it Sidwell, who's played for Chelsea?
Yeah.
He said Graham Potter is the most, emotionally intelligent person he has ever seen or met. I think.
Did you see that? Did you see that YouTube clip? It was good.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, and for me, that ticks a massive box to rebuilding this team.
Well, he basically said he's one of the best, as well as being a very, very talented coach. He is one of the best, if not the best, man managers around in terms of, like you just said, his emotional intelligence, his connection with players. So I am encouraged by this. There was some other stuff going on around about the time that he went to Chelsea as well. I believe his father passed away around about that time. So there was a lot of personal stuff going on with Potter when he went over to Chelsea. So it kind of, and also that was around about the time that Ted Bowley came in, and they had about the fucking players that was being brought in and thrown at him. So there was a lot there. When you look at it, I think it was a bit of a poison chalice when he went in there. Yeah. And I watched the highlight reel of Chelsea's performance in his last game when he got sacked. They didn't win, but you want to see the amount of fucking chances they created and the football that they was playing. They was cutting the other team to ribbons. I can't remember the opposition, but they were just fluffing their lines, like literally from 6 yards out, hitting the keeper, putting it wide. But they was carving the opposition up. They was playing good football. So maybe they went too soon on him. I don't know. I'm glad they did because we've got him.
Yeah, I think that was at the stage where I think they had Lukaku as their main striker and he couldn't finish his dinner at the time.
Like, yeah.
They were that bad.
And Ukraine Bolt, the geezer who runs the 100 metres in 9 seconds, but he can't fucking finish.
Oh, yeah, that Mudryk,
yeah.
But yeah, you're right. That was the time when we started coming out with these 7-8 year contracts. They started spreading the cost over a large amount of time.
Yeah,
it wasn't. You're right. If you look at the football we was playing, the manager can't control what the end product is, but he can at least have a massive influence on how to get to the end product. It's just down to the players then. But
yeah. No. But I completely agree, mate. It's I think it's a really good appointment for us. I do. I do think it's a little bit of a shame what's happened because I was going through the list of players earlier on. I was getting frustrated. You're going back as far as you're looking at Skamaka, you look at Fornals, you look at Aguirre, you look at Kera, just players of this level. Like Aguirre is one of the best performing centre backs in the league at the moment, and we'll go on to talk about him in a little bit actually because there's some interesting news on that front. And you just think, what could this guy have done with those players? And this is a problem when you go out and you go, and I've said this, I've used this analogy before, going out and getting Michelin-starred ingredients, but going and getting a chef from McDonald's. You're still going to be served up a shit sandwich. You are. The ingredients are going to be soiled. You're not going to be able to fucking realise the vision. And that has been the problem. And now what we've got is a situation where it feels like we've gone out and we've got the man to deliver the type of football and have the effect on the club that we want, but he hasn't got all the ingredients now, and we've got to rebuild it. That ain't a bad thing, because it means that he's going to have a chance to sort of rebuild this himself. But that said, will he? Because if worst comes to the worst and injuries keep on happening and they don't invest properly in January and he starts struggling to get results, you know what? But it's rich for me to say, you know what this fan base is like, because I'm the world's worst. But you know what this fan base is like. If there is, and it's the same with anyone at top level football, if the results don't come, the patience, he may well be afforded a lot more than a lot of other managers because of the style of football that he's trying to play. But ultimately, if he starts to struggle, not for any fault of his own, but because he's been hamstrung with this shit squad, will he be given the long term, or is, you know, I worry with my worry with Sullivan is that he's short sighted. He's 75 and he just cares about the here and now, and he wants it all now. So I don't know that Sullivan has got a long term vision for West Ham. Well, we know he hasn't. But what are your thoughts on that, mate? With him,
the manager needs time, and especially for the situation that he's had to adopt. Now,
yeah,
if you remember, Lopetegui, before he was appointed, he interviewed extremely well.
yeah,
And he supposedly said that he watched West Ham in Moyes' last season 6 months before he even took the job. Right. So we as a fan base have given him more than enough time. However, Potter has just taken this mess of a club out of nowhere, and we need to give him more time, you know, than
I think
Lopetegui had.
I think he'll get time. Oh, he'll get more time than Lopetegui had. The reason I think the only reason that Lopetegui has gone is because it was so fractured at West Ham. I'm not talking about on the pitch, because Sullivan doesn't care about that. We weren't at no risk of getting relegated. We really wasn't. We would have carried on through the season, getting enough results, and we'd have been safe. I think the reason that he's gone is because it must have got so toxic behind the scene. We'd heard he'd already had massive fallouts with 4 to 5 players.
Yeah,
We'd
yeah.
seen the damage that David Moyes did in the season before, where some players get so disenchanted with the club. Players like Fornals, players like Benny, all these players, and they end up leaving because they're like, I don't want to fucking be here anymore. And it's the damage that can be done if you let these guys exist in that toxic environment for a fucking full calendar year, mate. They're not going to want to be here at the end of it, are they?
No, definitely not. I mean, and Sullivan, as much as we hate him, he is a shrewd businessman at the end of the day, and he sees these players as assets,
Yeah,
as monetary assets, and he at the end of the day, Todibo, who's worth 35, 37 million
yeah,
quid, is worth more than Lopetegui is. So, you
yeah.
know, get a new manager in and save your assets, and that's all he's thought about when he sacked him. Thank God he did, and thank God, you know, we did sack him, because I'll tell you what, relegation. I know we don't like to talk about it, but the relegation is in the rearview mirror.
Shrewd businessman or shriveled? What did you say?
Both.
But
We'll
right, okay.
I'll go both.
Yeah. I don't know about shrewd businessman. He is a shrewd businessman, but in terms of him running a football club, I don't know. I don't think he can run the rest of his businesses, because he's got many of them, the way that he runs West Ham. Because, like I've already said, if what you're saying is true, football players are assets, and if what you really care about is growing them and making the most money out of them to sort of, you know, get the best bang for your buck, then surely you realise that you need a manager in that can develop them. And he is not a Graham Potter fan. He did not want. He didn't want Graham Potter. He was this guy. He was presented in the summer, but Sullivan got his own way, got his man in, and he wasn't in favour of bringing him in this time as well. This is coming from like Starton and Brady. I think that's and the other board members must have voted with what Brady had presented, because Brady hasn't got any sort of votes on the board, but she's brought him to the table, and they've gone against Sullivan. Sullivan didn't want Potter.
No, I know.
That's why I like Potter even more now. I do.
But then,
Just for that reason.
But then, do you think that there's a bit of a danger of Sullivan not wanting to, because Sullivan's a bit of a narcissist. He's
Ego.
not. He's gonna want him to fail because he's not his pick.
Yeah, but this is true, and you know you can't look past this. You can't. And as mad as it seems, and this goes back to, and it kind of goes counter to your point about him being a shrewd businessman, which he is, but I don't think it translates to West Ham. I think West Ham is his toy. I think it's his toy, right? It is.
Yeah.
And I would worry about that. I would worry that he's been made to look a mug, or he's made himself look a mug with Lopetegui. He's been battered into a corner, and they've said, "No, we don't. You brought Lopetegui in. He's not in these words, but you brought him in. He's shit. We don't want your next pick. We're going to bring our man in." And there probably would be part of him that would be thinking, "I hope he fucking fails. I hope he's shit. I hope he's shit and all." Do you know what I mean? Which is mad because he's the owner of the club, but it just wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me.
But then, if Brady is an ally of Potter, you have to think that at least he has allies on the board. So you like some. I think
Well,
Noble.
he's got Brady. This is important. So he played football with Paul Pescasolido, who is Brady's partner, and Brady and his wife are really close friends.
Yeah.
So that could be quite powerful because Brady is influential at that club. As much as we don't like to hear it, I know she hasn't got shares, and I hate to admit it. She clearly is influential. She was influential in bringing David Moyes back the second time, and she's been influential in getting Potter through the door again, through the door here. So this is her. Make no bones about it. Potter is a Brady pick.
I was under the impression that Noble also had a influence
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Which was surprising.
He was in favour of Potter because because of what he stands for as a coach. Because he is a coach. Because he's got a history of bringing youth players through. Ben showed me when it was announced before it was official that Potter was coming to us, and it was on Twitter. Some account announced it, and there was two youth players from our academy that liked the tweet on Instagram. And this is the thing. Do you know what? All he did, among all the other things that he spoke about, which were all brilliant, when we first heard him speak, he spoke about the academy a lot. And then in his first game, Avram, he puts Ollie Scholes out there. Now, that ain't just great for Ollie Scholes, right? But what does that do to the mentality of all the kids that are in that academy now? They're going to be thinking,
"Oh yeah,
fuck, hang on a minute, what's going on here?"
Cheese them up, doesn't it? Absolutely.
Yeah, they're going to think they've got a chance.
Gives them something to fight for, and then you're going to get more people want to, come through the academy, and it's what West Ham's all about. It's all about local lads coming through the academy, and it's the academy. What's the point of having an academy of football on that claret carpet when we're not playing young boys?
Yeah, no, exactly, and that's another thing that I don't understand as well. Why it wouldn't be a clear mandate of any man that comes into this club when you've got an academy like we've got that have just won that cup, that have had the amazing season that they had. How it can't be a stipulation in a manager's contracts that you have got to be bringing youth players into this team. You've got to be developing them. This is part of your job. It wasn't for Lopetegui. Apparently it wasn't even spoken about. He spoke about his 3 points. It had nothing to do with bringing kids into this team. How can it not be when you look at the single best bit of business that West Ham have done in the last God knows how long was selling Declan Rice to Arsenal?
And this is
100 million.
And this is what we was talking about earlier with
Declan Rice.
Declan Rice, yeah. This is what we was talking about with Sullivan as well, being supposedly. You're right. I kind of go back on what I said now, and I wish I never said it. Sullivan being a shrewd businessman. If you're a businessman, you want your assets to grow, especially your homegrown assets like Declan Rice. And when you do get youth players come through, your Ben Johnsons, Declan Rices, even and you sell them, it's pure profit for the club. And Sullivan needs to remember that is pure profit, and that we need them sales in order to progress as a club as well.
Absolutely.
In order to, because without the Declan Rice money, I doubt we would have been able to pay for half the players that we have now.
No, not a chance, mate. Well, we wouldn't have had Kudus. We wouldn't have had Alvarez. It would have been even worse. Imagine the state of West Ham after David Moyes had left if we hadn't have had that Declan Rice money. Do you know what I mean?
We would have all done a free, and then,
I know. Right, so look, we've covered Graham Potter now, and we've spoken about the current situation. And what we're going to do is go on and talk about potential signings and some other bits and pieces as well once we've covered the Villa game, mate. But you was at the Villa game yesterday.
Yeah.
You travelled down there. Talk to me about your day out, mate.
Yeah, it's good. So travelled up, parked about half an hour away from the ground, had a walk up, got myself a coffee, warmed myself up. Uh, Saw the players, clapped the players when they came through and the coaches, and then met my brother-in-laws. My brother-in-laws actually was supposed to interview Ginger Collins outside the
Yeah,
ground as
I
part of
love
a
this. I love this story.
part of a club collab. They got the tickets for free, and
So
then
how does this work then? Just let me know how this works.
so supposedly the club picks out of I think it's just a random generator of people going to the game. They
Yeah,
ask how they're getting there and if they could facilitate us like a social media presence at the game.
yeah,
So
yeah,
we're talking the supposed fan would vlog his experience throughout the
yeah,
day,
yeah,
and potentially do an interview with like an ex-player of the club and come up with some conversation.
yeah, yeah.
Unfortunately, Big Ginge got stuck in traffic, so that never happened. But I
Ah,
do think I'm there at half time singing, so you better see me there.
so you're on there. You did sort of get on camera.
Yeah, I think so. So what happens is my brother-in-law Alex, he was taking videos and pictures, and then he
Yeah.
just sends everything to the club, and they edit it. So depending
Right.
on
Okay.
obviously if they keep it in, but yeah,
Oh,
uh,
you take all the footage and you just dump all of the native footage to them, and then they just put it all
yeah, yeah.
together and spit it out. Yeah.
Essentially, you just video the entire day,
Yeah.
or take how many videos you want, and then just DM the social media guy who gets in contact with you from the club, like a club representative,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then that's it. But the club gives the tickets away for free in order
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
like
That's
as a
fair
thank
enough.
you, which is
That's fair
quite
enough.
nice.
Yeah.
Um, Great away fans, great away support, as always. Best away fans in the league.
Yeah.
When I think we sold out, got to meet Bill Gardner, such a lovely bloke.
Top man, isn't he?
Such a lovely bloke. Yeah, really good
Yeah.
bloke. And when the team sheet came out, speak to my mate. Shout out to George as well. I met Adam couldn't come with me, so I sold my ticket to a bloke named George.
Yeah.
Really good bloke actually. And we were saying we were really excited by the lineup. We kind of knew the formation he was playing, a 4-2-3-1,
Yeah.
but it was good to see Skulls in there. I was really surprised by that, and it was good. And I was very hoping, and I got it, that Kudus was playing for the middle, because I was kind of expecting Paquette to play for the middle, maybe Kudus to be on the left, but
Yeah.
he did the right thing. It's almost like he's listening to us.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, either that or we're just not that silly, and we've been talking complete sense all fucking year. And the
Yeah,
bloke's come in, looked at the team, looked at the players that he's got, and gone, well, maybe your most impactful player should be in the middle of the team. Maybe,
yeah, yeah.
Should we build a team around him? That probably makes sense. Yeah, we'll do that. Uh, we get our most creative player more involved in the game as well. And Paqueta was on it, mate. He was.
Oh yeah.
He was back in full bastard mode. People hate his showboating and everything else. Not the showboating, but when because there was a lot of diving going on and feigning injury. But that's when you know that Paqueta's on it though, because that's when he's in full Latin bastard mode. He was trying to
Yeah.
get under the skin of the opposition. He was really invested in that game. He wanted to win it. So I do feel sorry for him. I thought
I
they all
think
put a really good shift in.
first half, I said to my mate George, I was saying to him that he must have watched an old video of Pads Canio, because what he did was when Leon Bailey went down, he picked up the ball, didn't he? And he stopped
Yeah,
the
yeah,
play.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I remember that.
yeah, and then he
I
kind of
remember
lost
that.
he kind of lost his temper when they didn't do it for him. So
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, from kick off, I thought the team just showed fight,
This
desire.
this is true, actually. I bet they fucking did. Well, they wouldn't ask me, would they? So I'm the last person they'd ask. Imagine that. I think it'd sack the media team if I imagine if I did a vlog for West Ham, the bloke who just mugs Sullivan off all the time. They stick it out. It go to fucking hell asked him to go and do that.
Oh, Nick and Monomate on the site.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Monomate, you
mate.
on here? Probably not.
He may well be. I'm one of mate in his firm. One of mate in his
So-
firm. But do you know what else with that game though? And this is what was so nice. So even before the lineup was announced, obviously before Potter came in and we had Lopetegui, the Aston Villa game, I'd written it off. I thought we ain't getting fuck all out of that. Even if they don't play their strongest team, I thought we're getting nothing out of that. It's dead. But then all of a sudden I didn't have that, and we'd come to the point as West Ham fans of accepting we was going to lose before we'd even played. Oh, it's Liverpool, we're going to lose. Oh, it's Man City, oh, we're going to lose. Oh, it's so and so. All of a sudden, we're away at Villa, who are a good team. They're a top team.
Yeah.
And I thought, hang on a minute, we're going to fucking beat them. The hope was back, the belief was back, the excitement was back, and that was before the lineup came out. And mate, that whole experience, the hour before, was the most fun I've had. It's the most fun I've had with West Ham and football, and that first half for mate, the last year or two. It really fucking is. I was in terms of my mood and the way I was feeling and the way my connection with the team through the fucking TV screen. I was kicking every ball. I was getting so excited every time Somerville was popping up on that wing. And I just, mate, I was like a little kid. I've not felt like that for a while. I haven't.
Makes you care, doesn't it? It makes you care.
Yeah, yeah,
How the team plays does make you care as a West Ham fan.
yeah.
And it certainly did me. And it got the fans so G'd up. Like Ollie Scuttles just, tackles, trying his hardest, linking up with he's linking up with Paqueta. It was brilliant to see. And then
Yeah.
Kudus linking up with Somerville, and it was brilliant. And you said earlier, like those two doubling up on defenders, causing havoc. And even Fulkrug, the the first 10, well, until we came off in the 13th minute, was playing really, really, really well. And he did offer us something up front, The,
I thought he was brilliant, mate.
yeah,
Honestly, and I was saying this before we came on air. For a man that's been calling him a fucking duffer and useless and everything else the whole way through, really didn't want to sign in. Look, I'm not ignorant. If I'm presented with new information, I will reassess. And in the last few games, I've seen glimpses. And in that game at the start of it, I just thought he was a perfect centre forward. He was the perfect centre forward. He was holding the ball up well. He was making good, intelligent movement, great link up play. He just looked fucking good. And then he goes and busts his hamstring.
I know. I thought the most impressive thing that I saw from him was what he did off the ball. And
Yeah.
really intelligent players play really well off the ball. And what he was doing was he was drawing defenders so Kudus and Somerville could obviously run through. He was linking up well with Paqueta as well.
Hence our first goal as well. He kind of started that move with knocking it down to Kudus, and then he makes a lovely run into the box. And like you said, he was dragging defenders out of the way to allow Paqueta to come in behind him. Yeah,
absolutely, yeah. Great finish by Paqueta, by the way. He had a long shot. I don't know if you remember the
that
first
was close, mate. That
30
was close.
seconds. Yeah, contended for goal of the season. That would have been.
But that was close. Yeah.
And then what happened? Obviously, Fulkrug went off injured, hamstring, unfortunately, and then Danny Ings came on, and then I don't think we were the same after that. Danny Ings really didn't offer us anything, unfortunately, up front.
Nothing. Just nothing. He weren't going to. I said this on the show yesterday. The minute he came on, this was it ain't a criticism. I'm not going to criticise Potter because I think it might have been Gonzo or someone said this earlier on. I think we know this squad more than what Potter does at the minute. He's only had 2 days with them. The minute he brought Ings on, I turned to me son, and I said he's not going to do fuck all for the rest of this game. Ings ain't. And I said to you, for me, that was at that point. I said to Ben, I would have brought Guilherme on. Just you've got no other option. I'd have brought Guilherme on, stuck him down the middle, and just said, "Go on, boy," and just start knocking balls into the channels. At least you've got a player that can run. He is our fastest player. I know we haven't seen that yet, but believe me, he is on record as being our fastest player.
He is.
What was he clocked at Palmeiras?
I believe so. I believe it was 35 and a half kilometers an hour from Palmeiras.
That's fast as fuck.
Yeah, it's rapid.
That's really quick. So why we couldn't have done that? But it doesn't matter. Like I said, you can't get too stuck into it. But I just think, when Ings came off, we still carried a threat for the rest of that half because we had Somerville. Somerville and Kudus were kind of working and bouncing off of each other, and you had Paqueta pulling the strings. But then Somerville comes off, and it just died. Then, unfortunately, it did.
Yeah, we had no threat. I didn't understand the Kufal substitution as well.
I didn't want to criticise him for it, but I didn't get it.
No, I didn't get it either. I would have brought Soler on instead of Somerville came off. I would have stuck Paqueta on the right. I would have kept Lucas Paqueta on the left where he was having quite a good game, and then I would have stuck Soler as the number 10 because he's quite a good passer of the ball and he's got a bit of pace about him as well.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely, that would have worked. That would have worked. But we did in the end. Unfortunately, Villa were the better team. I think even if that dodgy, in retrospect, there was still 20 minutes, 25 minutes, or 20 minutes left. When if that corner hadn't have happened, I think the goals were coming. We were just coming back. We were sitting deeper and deeper, and it just felt like they'd taken full control of that game at that point, hadn't they? They had, unfortunately.
Something that helped Aston Villa as well. I don't know if you remember, Nick, but Ross Barkley, when he went down, Ross
Yeah,
Barkley came on and Amadou Onana came on,
yeah, that
and
made a massive difference
he made a
for
massive
them.
difference. Yeah. So they got better with the substitutions and we got worse,
Yeah,
which obviously tells us that we need to invest in this window
yeah, we do.
urgently.
Amadou Onana, Souček with talent. That's what that is.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
Right, talking about Souček as well, and this isn't going to be me digging him out. I've actually had this conversation with somebody else as well. You know, you are. I'm going to say who it is. Actually, he won't care. His name's Paul. I always mention him, Paolo Paul, the guy who left us for Leighton Orient, but now he
He's
never
come back,
left
yeah.
us. He's never left us. But his main issue, his main gripe, is Thomas Souček, and it is one of mine as well. And especially while if you want to play a certain style of football, if you want to play a shithouse style of football, which we played under Moyes and we played under Lopetegui, Souček will be fine. He will, but he will hinder you if you try to go to a different shape. You can't have a non-footballer in the middle of in the midfield of a team that are trying to play progressive football. You're only ever as strong as your weakest link. You are, and that man is a weak link in a team that wants to play a passing game, a
Yeah.
progressive passing game. So for me, it is actually a marker, and I know it sounds petty. It's a marker for me. I want to see Souček out. I do. I want to see Souček out of that team because I don't think that we're really going to change until Souček goes. And I'll tell you why. It's a little bit like us having Andy Carroll up front. You're never not going to be a long ball team. You're
No,
just going to
you're
be a
right.
long ball team. That's all you're going to be, a fucking long ball team. While you've got Souček in there, who's only, I don't know what he's good at. You know, he's the ballon de box. He's good in the box, isn't he? I just think it restricts you. And I don't think Alvarez is good enough to carry Souček like Declan Rice did. I don't think he's good enough. So I think Alvarez is going to suffer and other people will suffer around Souček. I do. I can't help it. That is still going to be a marker for me. The day he's removed from being a starter, he'd be a useful squad player, but the day he's removed from being a starter will be a defining moment in West Ham progressing as a football team. And I'm serious with that.
So Nick, you were saying about how you don't want him on the team anymore. Is that the team or the squad?
No, not the squad. The team.
Because I was going to say, because I certainly believe with his international experience, he's got a good
in the squad,
Yeah.
a good squad player. I think he's got a use
Yeah.
case. I think there's certain times you bring him on if you need a box crasher, if you're chasing a goal. Do you know what? Last 15, 20 minutes, if you need to defend, if you're 1-0 up and you need to defend set pieces, if you're 1-0 down and you need to go and grab a goal late, bring Souček on. But that means you're switching style.
Yeah.
With the way that Potter plays, I don't think he's ever had anyone like Souček in the middle of his. Go back and have a look at his midfielders that he's had, mate. They've all been technical, all of them. Souček ain't. He's got to go.
He's a legacy player, isn't he?
He's a legacy player. Ultra 505 says, this is true and this is a worry. I agree, Nick, but it's not just Souček. No, it isn't. But
No.
it is when you're talking about the first team, isn't it? Really?
Well,
because if it is if you're talking about the first team.
I was going to ask you, Nick, let's talk about Dinos.
Right. Dinos at the moment is about as much use as a chocolate teapot. He's useless. He really is. But I'm telling you, with Dinos, he's not as bad as what he's showing at the moment. He genuinely isn't. That is a defender. He might not be the best defender in the world, but his massive issue now is his confidence has fucking gone. So he was actually okay in the first half. He was fine.
He was, yeah.
He was good in the first half. We was playing out from the back. He was good. He didn't look too nervous. He made there was a couple of good things that he done, but he makes one fuck up and it's a cascade effect. It's a domino effect. He just loses it then. It's a sign of a guy. You think you said before we went live. It's like PTSD. They're fucking. And I think Kilman's gone the same way.
Yeah, Kilman's gone the same way. Areola has as well.
Yeah.
You know, there's definitely certain players. Kudus definitely has. You know, I saw him lose a ball and he kind of sulks as to say like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm used to this now." I believe in the coach that he can coach this out of him because, like you said, he is a psychologist.
help him. Yeah, just help a player rather than dump them. Maybe help them. You know.
But yeah, Dinos, I want him to improve. However,
shouldn't be a starter in my opinion.
Yeah, I wouldn't. You know what? How he's been playing, I'm not sure we'd be allowed to. But what would be your view on recalling Aguerd?
Right. So this is what I was going to talk about after. So I read an article. And it originates from a Spanish news outlet as well, and it's saying that Aguerd is monitoring the situation at the London Stadium now that Graham Potter is installed as manager. Because listen, he's one of the best performing centre backs in the league at the moment. I don't know whether there's a recall clause there. If there is a recall clause, because that is almost what it was alluding to, unless he was saying about coming back in the summer. But if there is a recall clause in that one, you fucking pull him back. You pull him back because that is a bloke who now he's got confidence again. He's playing brilliant football. It's in no doubt now that he is a top player. He would add pace to our back line. He can do everything that Kilman can do and more. He can, you know, he's a left-sided player, and I just think it solves an issue. One of them might be able to play, centre or right side. If it's a possibility, you've got to bring him back. The only issue that there might be is that Aguerd is having such a successful loan spell that his value is skyrocketing, and they're probably looking at selling him to make a massive fat fucking profit on him. That might be what they're looking at, because you could be looking at about 50 million for Aguerd at the moment, believe it or not.
I know Real Madrid are sniffing around him.
Yeah, you could be looking at about 50 million. So it's whether or not they want to bring him back so that fans get attached to him and then they sell him anyway, or leave him out there on loan and sell him because he's already gone. You know, we won't have to worry about it. I don't know. But for me, mate, I'd pull him back and I'd be happy to keep him. But I don't run the budget at West Ham, do I?
No, unfortunately not. What's your view on potentially Potts, James Ward-Prowse, and George Murphy returning to the London Stadium, Nick?
Potts, yes, all day long. I would bring Potts back if there is a recall clause, which some people are saying there is, and some people are saying there is not. I think he's got to come back personally. Without the situation that we've currently got in midfield, you've got a guy there that can play in the 6, the 8, and in the 10 as well. He's more of an 8. But he's box to box. He's got energy to burn. He's quite physical as well. He's got everything. Yeah. Everything. He replaces Thomas fucking Souček.
He does
that. He replaces him and improves on him. No end. But we've also got, because at the moment, what I would do is I would have Potts as an understudy to Soler. So the way that I would play at the moment would be to have Alvarez and Soler as a deep line playmaker, if you like, next to Alvarez. Somebody who can play on a half term and help us progress the ball up the field, which Alvarez can't really do, and just leave Alvarez to concentrate on what he's good at, and that's destroying. That's destroying. And then you've got Potsy there, who can basically he can fit in any of those positions. He can play in the 6 if you need him to as well, but he can play in the 8. He can play a bit further forward, and he's a perfect player to have in and around that team, and he'll get loads of minutes. He'll be starting some games. He'll have half an hour at the end of other games. If there is a recall clause there now's the time to get him back. And how good would that be to actually have a manager? We've got nothing else to play for this season now, but we're not going to get into Europe. But to have a manager that's going to play the right football, and then all of a sudden get in a couple of fucking homegrown boys in there. We've got Scholes. Imagine having Scholes and Potts.
Yeah, absolutely. And Casey. What about Casey? Forget about him and all.
And Casey. With Murphy, I would pull him back because I don't think he's having a successful loan spell. I don't blame him. It's just sometimes loan spells don't work. It's not always the right fit. They've been playing him out of position. They've been playing him at fucking right back and all sorts from what I've been told. So, for me, I would pull him back. We know he's a talented player anyway. I would hook him back. I'd bring him back to West Ham. Now you've got this guy in here. Why not?
We need reinforcements in the day, and looking back at the Villa game, the biggest worry for me was the squad depth. It's seriously depleted now because of the injuries that we have. With Bowen, now Fulkrug, Antonio.
JWP, no thanks. That's the answer to that one.
So I can see why the club would bring him back, especially if we get rid of Rodriguez.
They won't be bringing him back. Nottingham Forest are fucking throwing him back at us. They're willing to pay. They're willing to pay up and
Yeah.
send him back because he's been so shit.
I don't think he's even got on the pitch, although he did get an assist the other day against Wolves when he came on.
But how can we even be considering taking back a bloke that is nowhere near good enough to get any minutes at Nottingham fucking Forest? I know they're third in the league at the moment, but how could you? How can we even? How can that even be a thing? It can't be.
Well,
It can't be.
explain to me Maxwell Cornet, Nick, because they've want to throw him back at us, and he can't even get in that squad.
Well, if he comes, we'll just have to pay him off and get rid of him. He ain't going to get no minutes. Might as well just pay his contract up.
No, he's been awful signing.
Yeah, there's no point having him around. You know, he just pay him off and get rid. Unfortunately for him, he's obviously never been the same since that that injury that he got.
For what would you say is like priority positions for this window?
Right, so I've been doing a lot of thinking about this. Right, I have. I think we're absolutely brilliant on the goalkeeping front. We are. You know, Fabianski, Areola, fantastic goalkeeping options. Areola is not shit for everyone that keeps calling him shit. He's just another one that's got PTSD because he's had a knackered defence in front of him and they've all been shit collectively because they've had no midfield in front of them and a dickhead running the team. We've got to stick with these players. Give them a clean slate, a clean bill of health. Apart from, obviously, Cresswell, Soufal and Soucek. Get rid of them. And Danny Ings. But I think if we can pull Aguirre back, that's fine because then you've got. I wouldn't sell anyone. I wouldn't even sell Dinos. I'm not saying sell Dinos. I would like to see Potter do some work with him. We've got a man manager in now. Let's see what Potter can do with this guy. I think it's more mental with Dinos. So if we can pull Aguirre back, bring him back, that gives us Aguirre, Kilman, Dinos, Todibo, and Casey. 5 centre backs. Fine, nothing wrong with that. We've now got Emerson and Scholes at left back. There ain't nothing wrong with that. I'll tell you what, if you keep Dinos, you've got Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Dinos as right back because Dinos can play right back. He did that a lot for his previous club.
And he played right back against Brentford as well, if you remember.
Yeah.
It was probably one of his best games this season as well.
Exactly. Right, so you got two players in each position. You've got loads of centre-back cover. We've got a goalkeeping cover. In terms of central midfield, get rid of Guido. Keep Alvarez. I would keep Soucek, but not as a first teamer. Keep him as a squad player.
Yeah.
I would get Potts back. You've got Soler. And you've got Alford. And if we pull Urfi back, you've got Urfi. That's 6 players. That's 6 players for two central for two sort of deep central midfield berths. That's absolutely fine. You know, a vast array of different types of player there. Then you've got Kudus, you've got Paqueta, you've got Somerville, you've got Bowen. I think possibly we could do with one more fancy player. I would rather consolidate what we've got in the club. If we can pull Aguirre back, pull him back, that sorts our defensive issues out. Pull Potts and Urfi back, that sorts our midfield issues. Get rid of a couple of them. And for me, I would get in another tricky player, maybe someone like a Yilmaz, who can play across the front line. He can play in the 10, he can play on the right, play on the left, he can play up front, and go and get a fucking top forward. I mean a top forward. We've been offered Jonathan David. I know that Jonathan David wants Champions League football, but if we show enough belief and we show enough intent, you know, we can pay him a lot of money. This is a guy that ticks every fucking box. Every box. We've been linked with him every window now for it feels like the last 5 years. Yeah, for me, Jonathan David. There's also we're linked to Taiwo Awoniyi from Nottingham Forest. Good player, but then you're going back to sort of Antonio Ville because it's the same type of player. Rather move on to a more technical player. Got to be honest. There's who's the other geezer? Samu Omeridian, who currently plays for Porto. Good player, but he's going to be expensive. And do you know what? I've done a little bit of an analysis on him, and he's not what I thought he was. He's a bit of a target man. He ain't the hardest worker. He's a bit of a target man. He's in a bit of a different mould. He's not very adaptable. Graham Potter, and he's typically with the way that he plays football, his forwards need to be a bit adaptable. They've got to be hardworking. They've got to be able to do a little bit of everything. And I just think that players like top of my list for because like I said, I've done a lot of thinking about this. Top of my list for players to come in are John Duran, obviously, but it's very unlikely.
Phantom, yeah.
Jonathan David would be next. That'd be amazing. Then it would be Ollie Watkins. I know he's 29, but I would bring him in. Apparently, he's a player that Villa are willing to do a bit of business with. He's fit as a fucking fiddle. He'd be good for the next 3-4 years.
He's
You know,
29. They've slapped a £40 million price tag on him.
I'd bring him in. I would if he was willing to come. I'd bring him in. Obviously, you can't bring them all, but I'm just saying an Ollie Watkins would slot straight in, give you everything that you need in the forward line. He would have instant impact.
Yeah,
I think David would be the better signing because obviously then he's 24, 25.
He's 24, yeah.
Yeah, and you've got a player then for the long term. So it would obviously make more sense to get David, but if you can't, you get Watkins. And then you've got at the other end of the scale, you've got that Conrad Harder who plays for Porto. You know, Ruben Amorim brought him in. He's been absolutely fantastic for them. They paid quite a lot of money for him, 19 million euros. So it wouldn't be a cheap deal, but it ain't going to be the 50 million that's been quoted elsewhere. It's not going to be. He scored 9 goals and got 6 assists, which is good. It's good, and
It's not prolific, but
he's a fucking good player, mate. He's really good. That would be exciting. It's a player that Brighton, Chelsea, Arsenal, and West Ham are linked with, and have been linked with since he went to Porto. Apparently, we've been keeping an eye on him. So he is like a generational talent, tipped to be. So that would be exciting. But all that said, I don't think we can take any fucking risks. I think in short, if we was playing for something this year, so let's wind it back. Depending on the situation that we're currently in, we're halfway through a season. That's got to dictate what type of forward we go for now, to a degree. I think we're in a situation where we'd not take a risk, but you can bring a player in that might take a little bit of time to adapt. If you go out and you get an Ollie Watkins, it'll be great for the now. So say we was pushing for Europe, you know, like back in that Europa League season where we could have got top 4. You know, and we could have gone on a one Europa League. That January, go out and spend 40 million, go and get Ollie Watkins. He's going to come in, have instant impact, give everything you need now. But then the reality is there's probably going to be a slow, steady decline in that player over the next 3-4 years. In the situation that we're in, where we've only got we've got like 4 months left of the season. You know, it's not the longest pre-season ever. Go out and get Jonathan David. Let him bed in. Just fucking, and then we're up and running. We're ready to go for next season. That's what I would do. Sorry about the long ramble. I've just been thinking about this for a long time.
No, that's fine, mate. What's your view on M. Ferguson from Brighton?
Injury prone. I would be excited if we got him in. I would be excited if we got this. That's a talent. That geezer, the kid's a talent. All right. Yeah. So my issue with him is injuries. He's had a lot. Yeah. He's had a lot. He's got wankles. He has problems. He has problems with his ankles. He's a big lad. He's a fucking good talent. I can see. I'll see flashes of Dean Ashton in him, which makes me all warm and fuzzy because I loved Ashton.
He's a unit.
He would be outstanding, I think, for us. But there is that concern. I wouldn't be going anywhere near the 60 million they're asking for him, based on the injuries that he's had.
Yeah,
but I think that's what they're going to want to move him on. And also, this is the other question: if he is that good still at this point, after we know what he was like before the injuries, if he is that good, why isn't he really getting that much time for Brighton at the moment? Why are they looking at shipping him out? Why, that always makes me wonder, because Brighton are a team that like to play and give players a chance, and they love like their own sort of products that they bring through. And why wouldn't I? Don't get it at this stage.
Yeah, when a team
it worries me.
When a team looks to sell one of its brightest prospects, you got to wonder why.
Yeah.
So and we don't want a repeat of obviously the screw up that we made in the summer with Fulkrug.
Yeah.
We've made plenty of them.
Rory Delap at Ipswich all day long. I'd love to get him.
Absolutely. Yeah, actually, I did tout him, to be fair, especially if they go down. I think we'd be able to get him on a cheap.
But we need someone now, though. It's got to be now. How about that kid who scored for Man City tonight? Divin Mabama? Is it Divin Mabama? He scored tonight. I reckon we'd be able to get him for a couple of million now. It'd be all right. I mean, look, he'd have been a better option than fucking Danny Ings, wouldn't he? I know. Look, I'm not saying that Mabama's going to go on and set the world alight. I don't think he is. I think he's going to be a good, solid pro. He would have been better than Danny Ings to bring on in that game yesterday.
Absolutely. Well, talking about youth players, and we were talking about players that we have on loan at other clubs. Have you been looking at Callum Marshall at all at Huddersfield? He is a striker.
Yes, I have. I don't think he's ready for the first team yet, personally. I think he will be. I think he's going to be a top player. I might be wrong because listen, he's quite small and quite slight. And I'll get Jimmy Somerville-itis, don't I? And I was wrong about Somerville. I've been going Somerville too little for all season long, and he's making me look stupid. So it could be a little bit of that, but I think at the moment he still looks like a kid to me. For the Premier League, maybe. But I'll again, if it wasn't going well for him at the moment, I'd be pulling him back. But I think it is going all right for him on that loan.
Yeah, he looks like he's doing quite well. And then obviously we've got Kadua. We've got Kadua over at Wickham.
Yeah, I know.
Quality player. Great prospect. I wouldn't be angry if the club pulled him back and started integrating him into a squad. He's a unit as well, Nick. He's got some physical ability.
I would like to think that a bloke in the profile of Potter is, before they go out and spend any money, because there's no rush now. There's no fucking rush. Not really. We ain't getting relegated. We're not going to get into Europe. Providing we make some signings before the end of the window. I would rather he really, really assesses in the next week or so what he's got. Assess what you've got. Because say they're going out there at the moment, we're going to get a centre back in, we're going to get a midfielder in, and say you've got a pot of money. You've got, I don't know, you've got fucking 50 million, and you're splitting it between 4 positions that you're trying to fill. Potter could literally, with his team, sit down and have a look at what they've got, and we'll go, well, hang on a minute, we haven't got to fill 4 positions at all. We've only got to fill 1. And as you're talking about 50 million, go out and get me a 50 million striker, you tight bastard. We don't need 50 million spent between 4 players. Right, don't go out and get 4 average players.
No.
Go out and get a player that's going to make a difference up front. We've now got a manager that will provide for, that will build a platform for a striker to succeed. Go out and get it done. Get it done. Whoever it is.
And going back to Potter, like circling back around, and what you were saying about Aguirre now monitoring the London Stadium, you have to think like the pool that we probably have on players now is probably far greater than we did with Lopetegui, because players will want to play for Potter. And that's one of the biggest benefits that we have with this new manager, is that we can pull players because he is such a likable person, and players want to play. Players want to enjoy going to work. It's like you and me. We don't want to, why would we get out of bed if we don't enjoy what we do for a living?
Yeah, he's clearly got a reputation in the game as being a good guy to work for, because don't forget he's had, fucking all nationalities of players playing for him at Brighton, Swansea, and everything else. So word travels fast. They will all talk to each other when they travel on international games and whatever else. Everybody will know what a manager is. Everyone in the game will have an idea in their head what that manager's like, because they would have spoken to someone about him before. And Lopetegui, I'm assuming everyone would have gone, fuck that. Don't go and play for him. He's a fucking nightmare. But Potter's a people person. He's a good bloke.
Yeah. It's like having Pardew, Redknapp, Bilic. These managers who get the best out of players because they're good man managers. They're good. They're good lead, and they work to people's strengths and weaknesses. And they're good. If the players, and they know. If a player is down, they know whether to give him, the carrot or the stick. They don't just shout at everybody, which was what I've been hearing. Some alarming things about the previous manager. I don't know if you have, Nick.
I've heard loads now, and look, there's a lot of conflicting stories out there as well. I think there's a lot of fantasy stuff going on at the minute as well. I did hear one thing that I know is rock solid truth, because it came from an actual player. Can't say what player it was. But that is that he, what they do when they're in preparation for a game that's coming up at the weekend, they'll sit down, they'll have a meeting a couple of days before the game, and they'll have a brief, and they'll talk about the opposition, talk about their threats, talk about what you're going to do, and then you will go out on a training ground for the next few days, and you will execute the plan that's put in place to take on that opponent. Lopetegui made a habit, weren't a one-off. It was frequent, and this has never happened before at West Ham, apparently, where so everyone in that team kind of you know when you're playing, you've got an idea, if you're going to be in a team and everything else, probably a day or two before the game, and apparently about an hour or two before the game, he would just rip it up and go, right, we're not doing that now. We're doing this. You're not playing anymore. You're coming in. Blah 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 blah. And everyone's like, what the fuck? Which basically rendered the last 2 days' work that they'd done on a training ground completely fucking pointless.
No wonder the season was a car crash.
I know, completely pointless. But I've heard a lot of stuff. Look, some of it might be true, some of it might not. I don't know. Some of it seems far fetched. But what we do know is it must have been bad. It must have been bad for them to have got rid of him at this stage where we're not really at danger of getting relegated. It must have been so fucked up behind the scenes that they've had to get rid.
Yeah, it's alarming because I it's like the club didn't do their due diligence,
Yeah,
right, in appointing him. Because if it was me trying to appoint a manager, you obviously don't just interview the manager because you're just going to get a yes man. You're going to interview. You're going to get references from other clubs.
yeah, yeah.
You know, and by all accounts, he didn't do very well at Spain. He didn't do very well at Real Madrid. He had a car crash there. So you need to look at those, you know, scenarios and then realistically say to yourself, well, do we need a man who is left, you know, who has a track record of being like this at clubs? And no, we don't. So
What about Wolves? What about the fact he walked out on a Wolves team that he said in an interview with Galen Balagay, I'm leaving because this team isn't good enough, basically is what he said. He said, I've not been backed. I've told that. He basically said, I performed a miracle with Wolves last year. If you fucking see the team that they was well underperforming. They had amazing players in that team. You know, fucking Neves and they had all these players. And yeah, he did. He kept them safe. But then he went on to basically make out that they was shit and you know that they're not good enough to be in the Premier League. Well, basically, he left just before that season started, and then we've gone on to see Gary O'Neill pick up basically that group with minus some players because I think they actually sold players, and he went on and had a great season. So even that would make you
yeah,
look at Lopetegui and go, well, fucking hang on a minute.
there's a reason why he only lasted 13 games for Real Madrid. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, because he's shit.
Yeah, and they found him out, and they're definitely a club that's not afraid to sack a manager and because they you know they've got that winning mentality, haven't they? That's something that West Ham have lacked since
We're
this current ownership.
But we have acted this year, though. Well, I didn't think it was going to happen. I thought he was here for the long haul. You know, the West Ham of old. You know, I mean, Pellegrini went, but we was kind of, you know, we was loitering with relegation. I think we had 19 points from 19 games, and he went, and then Moyes came in, and we got 19 points from 19 games, basically the same, and we stayed up. But it weren't like we was in danger of direct relegation. We had a good little buffer there. So for us to sack a manager when the season is dead, let's face it, there's not much chance of us getting into Europe. It could happen. We could go on an amazing run, but that would have to start now. And with the injuries that we've got, I don't see it happening, mate. Unfortunately, this is my
No,
concern. Is this? You know that I think this is so important for any manager how they start and for everyone to buy in, even the players and the fans. You do need a little bit of success. You need a bit of luck. I
yeah,
think
yeah,
every manager
absolutely, yeah,
needs a bit of luck. And
yeah,
if we start getting beat, 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 that would be a problem for him. Not. I'm not saying for me because listen, I'm a bit of a weird fan. I am. I just like to enjoy football. We lost that game, and I enjoyed the game.
yeah. I came. I
I enjoyed it.
I walked out that ground, and I was a happy fan because
Yeah,
I saw progress, and I saw, you know, if a manager comes in like Graham Potter and he only has 24 hours before a game to have influence, and you already see green shoots, think about what he's going to have, like, you know, with 2 3 months, 2 3 4 months down the line and a transfer window. You know, he's gonna have a massive influence on this squad. And we said before, Nick, like before we came on, Lopetegui had 6 months prior
I
in
know.
David Moyes' last season to watch West Ham. What was he watching?
He ain't watched fuck all. He was full of shit. And that's the other thing as well. When they said he interviewed well, mate, we've all seen him in press conference. He didn't interview well. He can't talk
No.
English. He can't. Unless what he'd done is he'd done because apparently he'd done a PowerPoint presentation. This is what I'm told. He'd done a PowerPoint presentation around about an hour or two, and he sort of went through it. It was really detailed with every player, talking about him and talking about what he's going to do, blah blah blah. Unless he'd just practiced that with brilliant English, but that's all he can say. So do you know what I mean? He'd kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
practiced this kind of speech, and he's very good at delivery. I don't know, and he's not very good under pressure, but. Big
I did.
Phil, put that fucking blue cheese away, mate. Honestly, it's no good for you. Do you like blue cheese, Avram?
Yeah, I don't mind
Oh,
actually.
it's
Yeah,
disgusting, mate. It's got veins in it. It's horrible.
it's
Smells
all
like
right.
feet.
Bit of chutney on there, a few crackers.
Oh,
Yeah.
no. You think you're crackers. No one likes cheese. No one likes blue cheese. Go on.
I, going back to Loppy, or
Yeah,
I won't speak about it much longer. But if you do you remember when I did notice that when he was faltering and when he kind of couldn't understand the question or he didn't really know what to say, rather than repeat the words focused or for sure, he would try and fall
focused.
back. Yeah, he would,
Yeah,
or the club, he would fall back on his translator. So I thought maybe when Sullivan was interviewing him, maybe he fell back on his translator. But
yeah,
yeah.
maybe. I just don't. I'm just glad it's over. I'm glad it's over. I hope that we get the players in. Potter's going to need some help, all right? He's not a miracle worker. He's not. He isn't Harry Potter. He doesn't have a magic wand. He needs fucking footballers. That's what he
Yeah.
needs. He needs help. I think we've got a good man in place now, um, and he's going to need support. He's going to need support, and I hope that all the shit behind the scenes doesn't rear its ugly head again. I hope it doesn't. I think he's really got the good intentions. I think he's going to be so good for West Ham. We've actually got a man in place that's, he's got a good moral compass. He means well. He's. I think he could take us in a really good direction, and he could galvanise this club. The only way this goes wrong is those wankers behind the scene again. That's the only way this goes wrong, in my opinion. The only way.
Well, I was going to ask you, Nick, and it's a bit of a controversial question right now, but what is your opinion on Tim Stryden?
I haven't got one at the moment because I feel like I'm being manipulated. This is not me directly, but us as fans,
Yeah,
right? So I feel like they're peddling stories and releasing stories out to discredit Stighton, and it's coming from the Sullivan side, and I feel like we're being. Uh, so I'm not saying that he is great at his job. I'm not saying that he has done this or done that, but we know he's been hamstrung by Sullivan. We know that. We know that he's being blamed for Lopetegui, even though he told Sullivan not to bring Lopetegui in. Apparently, he warned him against bringing him in.
yeah,
So how it's his fucking fault, I don't know. He advised him. He said, "Don't bring that man in." I'm assuming he said he's shit. Don't bring him in. Um, but then you see all these stories coming out, and it don't look good. The only thing that I would say is, um, if it if the toxicity is so bad, i.e., with Sullivan, with Stighton, then it's going to. I don't think it's going to go away. I don't think this is going to go away, and that's a problem, right? So we can't have that. I think even if it is Sullivan causing this issue, we can't fucking get rid of Sullivan because he's the owner of the club.
yeah,
Um, so maybe if you had the opportunity to bring in someone like a Dan Ashworth, who is a director of football that has worked with Potter before, and providing Potter was happy with that, and they were happy to work together again, that would make sense. But then again, I don't know. It's really weird because when you watch like the official videos, like the West Ham videos, you see Stighton's there. Like when they're welcoming him in, he's all smiles when he's walking him around the training ground. So I don't know. I haven't really got an opinion on it one way or the other. I don't really care too much anymore at this stage about Stighton. I don't really care too much. You've got to give him credit because he is good at his job because he manages to get deals done. He got Tadibo done. He got Alvarez done. He got Kudus done. And that's part of the role of it doesn't matter who fucking identified these players. He closes deals. He manages to go out there and get the fucking deals done. Do you remember on with Tadibo, Juventus were trying to basically
yeah,
poach him. He weren't letting him out of his sight. He had him there. He got that deal done. That's a talent in itself, you know. And we don't really possess. Who have we got to negotiate these deals if he ain't there? Who fucking Sullivan? Who's
yeah, yeah. You're right,
S-
and
Silky?
yeah, we all know what they're like. They're different. Different Dave.
Yeah.
Um, you know, the only thing I think about Stein at the minute, and I'm with you. I don't. I want to kind of leave myself in neutral ground.
I'm
In
going to be there. I'm ambivalent.
Yeah.
I'm not making a decision either way on him.
No,
You
no,
know.
no. I do, however, feel that I don't know how I do feel about this, but he is. You're right. He kind of he wants to be more of a celebrity than other. You never really see other kind of directors of football in the tunnel. Shaking players' hands or on the pitch. So
Sorry,
we
mate. Stephen Hayes says, Nick, proper muffing beard. Shave it, lad. I'm doing the beard challenge. I fucked up, mate, because this thing's getting big already. I'm only a week in. I do need to go and get it tidied up. But basically, the deal is on our community. So I'll get back to this, Avram. I've got to clear this up because there's a few people been saying it now. And I do look like a fucking hobo. So I'm doing something called the beard challenge, right? This is my idea. and it's basically setting goals for weight loss and everything else. And I've set a target weight loss. I'm not allowed to shave my beard until I lose the weight that I want to get down to. All right. So that is why I'm like this. And we're doing this on the terraces and on Anchor Point as well. So if anyone does want to come and sort of jump on board with us and do it with us, there's loads of us doing different challenges on there and stuff like that. You've either got the if you want to join a support group, which is free, it doesn't cost anything. You just go to your web browser and you type in CB Family. .uk, cbfamily.uk in your browser, and that will bring you in. You sign up, you go into onboarding, and then either myself, Happy, Amanda, Mickey, or John will talk to you, and then basically we'll bring you in. Then you're in the support side, and you've got access to the beer challenge. Or if you want to come in on the terraces side, which is all the West Ham stuff, you go to Claret and Booze, all one word, .uk, claretandbooze.uk. You go in there, that is a paid service. That's £5 a month. And then once you're in there, you've got all the West Ham stuff. You're in the beer challenge as well if you want to do that. You know, you haven't got to be in there if you don't want to. Also, you can access the Anchor Point as well because I can extend your access through. So you can have full access to the whole platform. So yeah, there's a little punt there for anyone that does want to jump on board with us and grow a big bushy beard like me. You ain't got to grow the beard, by the way. It's not. That's my thing. That's my thing. And looking at the fucking state of me, I wouldn't advise it. Don't grow the beard. Avram, sorry, mate.
No, it's fine. It's fine. No, it's good there. Not going to be an advocate for. What's the one that Gio and Gonzo do? I was saying it the other day.
What's that?
They have a sponsor. I think it's some male grooming one. We spoke about it the other day, didn't we? That you could never be one of them because obviously the beard that you got on you going look like a homeless man. But
yeah, Papa Smurf. That's what I look like.
Yeah. Just going back to what I was saying about Tim Stryden. Just quickly, listen, I'll probably make a judgment on him under the new management, and if he's, I mean, Graham Potter, such a likable character, so. And you know, with Moyes, we all understood it towards the end. It got very toxic, and then especially with Lopetegui because it was a car crash. If you can't get on with Graham Potter, then there's no smoke without fire. No smoke without fire, I'm afraid. And then it looks like, you know, he seems like he's the person that, you know, no one get on with. But until then, Nick, I'm going to be with you. I'm going to stand in neutral ground, and I'm just going to see what happens.
Yeah, because none of us know, and there's too many games that get played. You know, when stories start being peddled by, I haven't got an issue with X or, you know, or Sean or people like that, but we know that they get their information from the board, right? So when they're peddling narratives that are coming from the board, that sparks me straight away because I'm thinking they're telling us what. Why would they be telling us that? Because they're trying to peddle a narrative to turn us all on a certain person. I don't like being manipulated. It is trouble is, mate. It does sow the seed. It does work. It sows the seed of doubt. It does work.
It's disinformation. It's propaganda at the end of the day. What they do, yeah. You know, there's always two sides to a story. You've got to always remember that.
Yeah, always, mate, always. Right. Anyway, BG Nick tragedy. I know it's bad. It's bad. Do you know? I reckon this. I wonder how long it will get because it is getting fucking long. I'm looking at about what am I looking at in length here? It's about an inch.
Well, how long have you been growing it, Nick?
I've got a good inch going on there. This is only 6 weeks. It's not even, mate. It's not even that. It's 4 weeks. That's 4 weeks growth.
You had it at Bournemouth, didn't you? When I saw you then.
Yeah, but it was more trim then.
Yeah, it was more stubble. Yeah.
It's more. Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, I've never cleanly shaven. I'm too lazy. But right, what we're going to do there, mate, is we'll wrap it up because it's been going for an hour. Yep. Sort of touching on the terraces and the other thing that we do as well. Obviously, Avram is part of the group as well. You know, we're doing bits and pieces over there. I'm gonna try and rope Avram in to sort of doing some sort of health and fitness for all that. As you can see, he's a little bit fitter than me. I don't think me doing fitness classes in a leotard's going to help. But no, we don't really do anything like that. It's just basically advice, advice and stuff like that. Because we're all doing different bits and pieces. There's loads of us in there. Some people, they've got different goals. It's about, I don't know, getting out of debt. That's a big one that people want to do. Saving money towards a holiday, losing weight, getting healthy. You know, you got health ailments. But you know what the main thing is? The main driver behind this and why I started this was because there was a few people that were just after Christmas that were talking about their basically just down. You know, when you get the January blues, it happens every
Oh,
fucking
yeah.
year. It happens to me a lot. You literally get Christmas and New Year out of the way, and then you're like,
Yeah.
like
Flat.
fuck, you know, I've got another year of this again. You're
Yeah.
like, it all hits you all of a sudden. There's no sunlight out there. Everyone gets depressed. It's a long month because you got paid 2 weeks early, and you spunked all your money at Christmas, and now you're on fucking bread and water for a month while you're waiting for payday. So we've all been
Yeah.
there. So I thought, you know what, we're going to spin it on its head. We're going to fucking try and do something that's a little bit positive. Do it as a community and we're going to do it over a long period. So it's going to be 6 months. So there's no fads. Well, no one's pushing anything on you. There's no fad diets or anything like that. We'll share information. We'll share ideas. We'll support each other through it and all that. But the idea is, for me, is to set goals. So at the end of each month, you can look back and feel like you've done something, just yourself, because
Yeah.
this last year gone, I was really busy with work. I got to about August, and I looked back and I thought, the fuck, where's the year gone? I ain't done nothing. Like you literally got to August, you look back and it's just gone like that, and you think I've literally achieved fuck all. I'm in the same mess that I was in 8 months ago. Nothing's done. So the idea is to every single month just do something where you can at least pat yourself on the back and say, do you know what? I've fucking done that. You know, I've lost half a stone. I'm not drinking as much fucking booze. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. So that's the idea of it. It's just basically to give everyone a bit of direction, and yeah, and also it's much easier to do stuff as a group as well. I
Oh,
find.
absolutely. And just one on there, Nick. Like, just going out to everyone that, please don't be afraid to message me or DM me on the terraces and ask me what, any question about anything you want, really, because I'm very approachable. Yeah, please feel free to, and I'll help out where I can.
Top man. Cheers for that, Avram. Okay, right. That is it. Very, very good show. January blues can happen a lot, just once a year. I do, mate. Honestly, I'll get it. I'll
Yeah.
get it every. I mean, I'm a miserable fuck anyway, but January, I'm terrible. January does me every
I'll
year.
get it the day. I get it the day before I go back to work.
It's bad.
I just
Yeah.
sit there and I'm like,
Fuck.
really, really.
Yeah, you're still
Oh.
sort of half in that food coma from the 2 weeks of eating that you've just done over Christmas. You've just
Yeah.
finished the last bit of turkey,
I know, like,
which was on the turn.
I've just been eating roast potatoes for the last month and a half. Just leave me alone, please.
No.
Just leave me alone.
I know.
Oh.
But anyway, Avram, thanks for joining me, mate. That was a lovely chat.
No, thank you, Nick. Thanks for having me on, mate.
I hope you all enjoyed that, everyone in the chat. And don't forget, most importantly, drop a like on it. And that isn't the love heart. You have to come out, close the live chat, press the thumbs up button. That's the like, all right? I don't know why they put that love heart thing there. It just fucks us up because everyone thinks they're hitting the like button, but they're not. So, yes, thank you very much. Love you all. Jordan, speak to you.